All right, welcome to day number 2 of the 30-day automated income challenge. Today is all about finding your audience, figuring out what your niche is and who your ideal customers are. And of course, the first two are very tied together, finding your niche, who's going to be your audience. But also, you'll actually see that not necessarily your audience isn't necessarily the same as your ideal customer, which is a little weird, but I'll point to some popular influencers that you'll see where sometimes you'll actually want to grow an audience of people to make yourself look important to the people you actually want to do business with, which is a little weird, but you'll see it's something that a lot of really successful social media personalities, especially in the business space, do because sometimes your pool of ideal customers is really small if you're doing some sort of consulting. So, just wanted to quickly also call out the today's sponsor, GoHighLevel. So. We have a link in the description for you to a free snapshot. And so we have our entire funnel that you can drop directly into your Go High Level account when you give Go High Level a try free for 30 days. And so you'll get all of our funnel automations. You'll also get our newsletter funnel as well as a ton of other goodies. It's the exact same strategy I used to generate over 6 figures online with just digital products. Obviously, we've done about 500,000 in sales over the past couple of years, but over 100K of that is just automated digital products where you kind of set it and almost forget it, right? We know there's no such thing as actual passive income, but you can get pretty close. So you get the 30-day accelerator, the funnel stack that I just showed you. We are always adding to that. And then you also have access to a private community and actual workflow calls. So I can work with you to actually get whatever it is you're working on off the ground, or improve your current sales process. And then there are some other cool bonuses that unlock if you decide to go past the free trial and continue to use Go High Level. So link in the pinned comment and top of the description to check this out and learn more. And of course, if you have any questions or concern, you can always ask me. All right. So let's go ahead, jump into day number 2 here. We are going to figure out who our ideal customer is. And so I'll scroll down here and I'll just kind of give a very quick overview. Don't worry. And then we're going to jump straight into GPT. And actually build out our profile relatively quickly. And because of the custom GPT that we'll be using, we spent a lot of time training this guy. You can see we have some other ones here. We'll be able to create multiple profiles relatively quickly. And so if you're tuning in live and you're not quite sure what your niche or industry is, go ahead and drop that in the chat, and then I can actually just run it for you right now. It's a lot easier to choose your niche than you think. So, or then you probably think. Obviously, I don't know what you think. It always bugs me when people say that. Well, you probably think this. No, I don't. But it's something that I have to improve on with my presentation and copywriting here. So we're gonna jump. No super fancy graphics today, but essentially what we want to do when it comes to figuring out your audience or your niche, it's all about people, right? It's all about who are we creating content for, who are we creating products for. And so you might have gone through other processes where it's all about, oh, what do you like to talk about? What are your hobbies? What's something you could see yourself just engrossed in for hours and hours on end, right? And while that's a great place to start, most of the time, the way we spend our free time or our hobbies isn't actually something we want to make a business out of, right? So, for example, for me, I really like running, I really like weightlifting, but any just 30 minutes of competitor research in the fitness industry, and I would absolutely abhor the type of content I would have to make. Like, I would not have fun with it at all. Then I also like playing with Google Sheets and actual spreadsheets as well. But I wouldn't want to make tutorials about spreadsheets all day long. And so there's this weird dichotomy of, yes, you want to do something that you care about, that you enjoy, but you also want to make sure that it's something that you can see yourself, you care so much about it, you're willing to make content that you don't enjoy. You're willing to make products that you don't enjoy. You're willing to essentially spend a lot of time in the side of whatever it is that your niche or industry that you're thinking is that you really don't enjoy. So, for example, for me, being a YouTuber and entrepreneur, there are a lot of things I do not enjoy about running my own business. There, of course, we all have those things, but then specifically when it comes to marketing, I actually really like all of the setup, but then I hate video editing. Like I can't stand it, right? And so that was something that I had to get over. And so I know this kind of can seem like a bit of getting sidetracked, but I just wanted to point out that when you're thinking about your niche or industry, think about your hobbies, the things you enjoy, but then also you want to think about all of the stuff inside there that you don't like talking about or you don't like doing, because sometimes you'll find that that's the majority of the content you'll have to make. Maybe that was helpful. I went a little off script there, but in the screen that you're looking at now, you can see here we have a really basic sentence. I help ideal customer achieve result without roadblocks so they can enjoy benefit. So, of course, we have some examples here. And this is as complicated as your customer discovery and research process really needs to be, right? We're just thinking about who do we help? What are we helping them achieve? What are we helping them overcome? And that's pretty much it. And of course, if you don't decide to join the free trial and get the direct access to the GPT, you can always screenshot this. So this guy right here, I realize I'm actually, I say screenshot this, and then I realize I'm actually in the way. So I'll go ahead and move it up here. So you can go ahead and screenshot that. That's a simple prompt that you can use inside your own AI if you don't have access to the GPT. So I just want to make sure that even if you don't join or try out the paid things that we have or the free trial, you can still follow along. So all you need to do is screenshot this guy and then upload it to whatever AI you're using, and you'll be good to go. AI can read all this fine print. We just needed to squish it down and uh, make it seen in one graphic. Make it seen in one graphic. So in my particular instance, I'm going to jump back over here. You see, we actually have a lot of steps for coming up with your customer. And there are important things to do once you know who your ideal customer is and you really want to dig in and really want to figure out the sales copywriting aspects of how to really relate to your customer. But for now, we just want to figure out who they are, some basic demographics, the big thing they're after, and the big roadblock in their way. And that's it. That's all you need to get started. And so, again, we're doing everything in 1 hour per day. And so, we're going to be able to do this in just a few minutes. And I realize I'm rambling quite a bit here. So, hopefully, I can bring it back. So let's get practical. When it comes to choosing your niche, um, if you have multiple ideas for niches or industries, you would just go ahead and type those in. So for me, I'm going to say I am interested in running, which is specifically sprinting, right? So you don't want to just say weightlifting or running. You want to be more specific with what you care about. So let's say I like running, I like marketing, but what type of marketing? I like content marketing. I like sales funnel building. And then let's say I like Google spreadsheets. Okay, cool. And then this is actually all you need to get started. If you already have an idea, we can go through essence of brand and then brand inspiration. But all you need to do is start with this, and then you can use the prompt earlier. So again, you can screenshot this guy, or we're just going to use our GPT, and we're going to say, help me choose my niche ideas. Now I'm doing this live, so you'll be able to see what it's actually what it's actually going to come up with. And so it's designed to kind of help walk you through the different aspects of whatever kind of broad niche or ideas you have. I do realize I forgot to mention, depending upon the version of GPT that you have, I do recommend using one of, if you're trying to figure out what niche or who your customer is, I do recommend using one of the O3 models. That's advanced reasoning. It takes a little bit more time to load, but you are going to get a much better result. I'm using 4.1 mini right now because I'm trying to do this live and we don't want to we don't want to wait 5 minutes every time we need something from O3. But when it comes to the advanced reasoning, there is a difference. But if you, and then once you're doing your copywriting, the four, here we go, 4.5, you can see I'm out of it, and 4.1 are the best ones to use. So you can see here, it's gone ahead and parsed out the kind of broad niche ideas I have, and then it's talking about, it goes through passion, expertise, moderate, high if your marketing skills, high if you love spreadsheets and automation. So then you start kind of thinking of like, okay, if I could only choose one of these to talk about a lot, and the stuff inside that particular niche or industry, I could see myself talking about, just for hours on end, even the boring stuff, then that's kind of how you would go ahead and rate these. And then let's say audience demand. Of course, pretty much all of these are going to have a high audience demand. Medium to obviously Google Sheets is a lot more niche. And then monetization potential, it gives you some ideas of what we could sell. Spoiler alert, every single niche has pretty much the same like 7 things you can sell, from digital products to affiliates to coaching consulting, merch, and even software, right? So when it comes to like, oh, which one's going to make me more money? The one that you can actually pour your all of your effort into. That's the one that's going to make the most money. I know that sounds so generic and rah rah, but there you go. Then competition and differentiation talks about how competitive some are. Obviously, Google Sheets is a lot less competitive than say content marketing or funnel building. And then inside of whatever niche you're looking at, of course, it's also important to think about, okay, if I'm thinking about doing a channel about running and sprinting, I'm coming up on 36 now. So then instead of just being a broad fitness channel like so many other niches or brands, I can focus on, sure, it still be health and fitness and strength and training and conditioning, but it would be through the lens of someone who wants to be a runner or someone who specifically wants to be a sprinter, which I can tell you is a very small niche, because most runners, by the time they get to my age, they're just running like 5 or 10 Ks or something like that, which I cannot stand. You can't, don't ask me to run more than 3 miles. 3 miles is like my absolute limit. Even in high school, I would run like 4 miles and be like, guys, I don't know why you distance runners keep running. Like, why don't we just do the 4 miles faster and call it a day? But anyway, that's just me. So once you go through this, of course, it will ask you some questions if you're really not sure. And so, for example, here, I'm going to highlight, if it can let me, I'm going to highlight these two, because obviously the marketing and sales funnel angle is the one that I want to go with. So I'm going to ask GPT, and it's the next step. You can see the difference when I'm live. I can't like pause and just think and then keep going and cut. But the next step here is going to be going through and saying, okay, I think these two are the ones that I want to focus on. So let's ask the downsides. So what these two? So I know this seems really weird, right? But we want to know the negative stuff, right? And then and then most niches, you have relationships, finance, how to make money online, and I'm blanking fitness, right? Those are kind of the big ones. What? So we're getting pretty deep here. These are some questions that you really want to wrestle with. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter so I can have them at the top of the screen because I realize I'm blocking. But essentially, what would be the downsides of choosing this particular niche? And then what would I have to talk about or products to create that wouldn't be fun? Now, GPT is not going to know what you consider fun or what you enjoy, but let's just make sure we get through all the dark crevices here. And then what kind of marketing messages would I have to compete with that may make me feel salesy or unethical? I can tell you in every single niche, unless you are a unethical person, you're going to find people in the niche who are saying things or promising things that just are not true. That's true in every niche or industry. So we want to be aware of what those are and how we're going to deal with those messages. So, in relationships, it's all the ridiculous pickup artist stuff that doesn't work, right? In how to make money online, it's make passive income in 90 days. I compete with that all the time, and between you and me, I'm really close to starting using the term passive income because I am so tired of being losing in terms of ranking or ads or sales to those types of marketing messages because I say automated instead of passive. Like, so there's a direct example. And then in, of course, stocks or finance, it's the, oh, just buy these three stocks and you're, going to be the next Warren Buffett. We all know that's BS. That's something I had to deal with as a registered investment advisor. And then, of course, in health and fitness, everyone under the sun has their special diet that's going to help you, lose X amount of weight when really it's just cut out all the refined stuff and keep your calories in check. And you're probably going to lose weight over the next 6 months. You don't need to lose 100 pounds in, 90 days or something like that. Obviously, that's insane, but you get the point. Each niche is going to have hard parts that you want to deal with. So let's just be upfront about that right now. So let's go ahead and go through these. So content marketing downside, it's highly crowded, ever-changing platforms, that's for sure. And then client expectations. This is very true. Most solopreneurs expect something that's really quick, right? That's also why the it can be so hard in some niches because everyone's been conditioned to, oh yeah, I just write like 5 social media posts and then I'll make 6 figures. No, it's more like 500, but okay, we'll start somewhere, right? And then the other thing too with content marketing is, okay, ever changing platforms. This is going to be something that we're going to have to stay up to date with a lot. And then products topics, and then marketing messages that might feel salesy or unethical, over promising viral, pushy funnels promising overnight success, messaging that pressures people to post every day or fail. Actually, that last one's not too bad. You could probably make an ethical challenge out of that, but definitely over promising or guaranteeing sales. That's a huge problem in the marketing and make money online niches. And then we go into sales funnel building. So, what's the downsides? It can be very tech heavy, sales pressure, client dependency. I'm not quite, I don't know about these two. Sometimes GPT won't make sense. And so you could just say, you just highlight it and say, please expand or please explain. I don't get it. Right. So you can always just ask it if you're not sure what on earth it's talking about. And then products topics that might be fun, troubleshooting funnel glitches. So if I'm making a bunch of funnel, related content, am I willing to spend 5 minutes going into Google Ads and the back end of High Level to find where on earth that setting is, and then going back to YouTube and replying to that comment? Yeah, it's not fun, but it's in the long run, it's worth it. Writing hard sell email sequences, using scarcity. This is something that I really had to get over using countdown timers. I always felt those were really salesy and scammy, but gosh, do they work? So I use them now. All right. But there's an ethical way to use them, right? My compromise was I'll make the countdown timer real. The price really does go up after 48 hours. And then creating upsell downsells can feel like tricking people, I got over that pretty fast. I think there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Promises build six figures in 30 days. So if I go into, the sales funnel niche, this is something that I'm going to have to deal with and combat. And the reason that I'm spending so much time on this is when you know all of the negatives before you go in, 6 or 9 months, down the road after you've chosen your niche and you see your content isn't doing well or your product isn't selling, but you notice this other influencer or entrepreneur is doing really well and they're using some of these terms, you go, okay, I knew that I was going to have to overcome this. I knew that this is something that I was going to have to face. Using high pressure tactics like countdown timers. Yeah, there's a lot that aren't real. And then messaging that implies customers missing out or failing without your funnel. Um, so I also like using these because just for this example, because these are all sales tactics that irrespective of your niche, are going to have to deal with. And so, of course, I could keep going, but I think I've gotten a little deeper than we needed to on this. But I just wanted to really show that we want to make sure that we're choosing a niche where we're aware of the downsides, we're aware of the uphill marketing battles and messaging struggles that we're going to deal with. And so for me, I'm going to say I'm going to do solopreneurship. Uh, or I'm going to do marketing, sales funnel building, right? So I'll come in here and I will cross out all these guys and we're going to go with sales funnel building, right? Um, so what is your brand about? So if you have, like, let's say we do sales funnel building. So I'm going to do sales funnel building. And then I would go ahead and start typing out what my brand's about. So creating. Obviously, I'm cheating a little bit here. You're like, really? Did you just come up with that on the fly? No, I've thought a lot about this. But essentially, with the brand essence here, sales funnel building, and then anything that you want to talk about or you think might be unique or different about how you want to go about tackling that niche. So I'll go ahead and grab that. And then brand inspiration. If there are any influencers that you would want to be like or draw inspiration from, this would be where you would put that. And so I actually have a list of examples that I actually came up with for another training. So I think that would be helpful here. You can tell we got a lot of Canva graphics, but I will find it. Here we go. All right. So, for example, I could go ahead and type in, like, let's say Russell Brunson, very, very relevant to funnel building. Then I could type in Amy Porterfield or Marie Folio. I think those are pretty related to funnel building. But for example, when it comes to like someone like Ali Abdal, if I'd gone the YouTube route, that would make sense. But like a Remit Sethi or Noah Kagan, or even a Robert Kiyosaki, those are big, you know, business influencers, but they're not necessarily directly tied to funnel building as someone like Russell Brunson or what was it, something Porterfield. It's freezing, so we'll come back over here. So I could just type in. Russell Brunson Field. I'm not going to spell that right. And then, Marie Folio. I'm not spelling these right at all. And so then we can go ahead and take this. We can take this. We could keep going with trying to dig into who our ideal customers are, or I can just jump over here and I know it's ironic. I say, "Oh, use high level," and then I'm using Russell Brunson, but um, his software was good in the beginning. So here we go. Here we go. So I'm gonna say, oops, apologies. I'm gonna copy this over. This will make sense in a moment. Brand essence. See. Okay, there we go. So, and because I'm using the GPT, it's going to know what this is, and I'm just going to say I'll go with funnel building as my niche. Here's the rest of my idea. Here we go. Okay, cool. So awesome. We've chosen funnel building. And it was able to figure out the name spelling there. Um, And so this is all you need to give AI or RGPT, or even if you're just using the prompt we gave you, to go ahead and figure out your niche, right? Like this is all there is to it, is just looking at, hey, what are all the different things I could see myself talking about, creating products about, have GPT go through the pros and cons, go through the negatives of marketing messaging, then just give a quick, okay, I'll talk about sales funnel building, but I'm going to focus on, digital products as opposed to services or ecom, right? Like those are the other two big ones. I really don't enjoy ecom. It's so hard, and it just gets harder every and every year. And then for brand inspiration, of course, you could just type out other influencers or actual companies. So I also could have just said go high level here as well, or even put in a book or two that I really enjoy. And so then once you've chosen your niche, you're ready to focus on who you're going to be talking to in that niche. Because by just saying I want to help people build a funnel, anyone who wants to build a funnel, well, we need to know why they want to build a funnel, right? We want to be more specific, just like we're not saying anyone who wants to enjoy running, right? Well, no, we want to target people who want to be a sprinter, right? Who want to actually sprint. And then we'd start thinking, okay, well, am I talking to high school students, people who want to become Olympic athletes? Well, of course not. I have no experience on that. Maybe just someone who wants to sprint on their free time. I know that sounds crazy, but there are those of us out there who do enjoy running fast for fun, and not just those really long, boring runs. I know there's going to be a comment like, "There's nothing wrong with running 10 miles a day." Okay. Very, very slow. Uh, I lost my train of thought there. I apologize. So once you know your general niche, we want to come up with our customer avatar. So to do this, I'm going to just have GPT come up with a bunch of examples for us so that you can kind of see how you start creating who you're going to talk to. And the next three questions are all you need to essentially launch your business, right? Like we're going to be able to create products, create funnels, and create content with just these simple three questions. So we'll start things off by, I'm going to say run. All right. So the don't worry about the codes. It's going to organize it for us. And I'm just telling it, I'm doing a live stream right now. So give me multiple examples so I don't look silly. All right, got it. So we've got our kind of brand or niche focus, which is going to be sales funnel building. The essence is helping solopreneurs creating, digital offers. And then we have some brand inspiration and added Pat Flynn and Jenna. I actually don't know who this person is, but that's pretty cool. See, GPT's already adding stuff for us. So our customer seed. So the first thing that we know, we're going to target sales funnel building. Now we want to come up with 5 words that describe who our ideal customer is. So passionate creator, wanting automation, time-strapped solopreneur, skill holder, overwhelmed beginner, and ambitious coach. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is kind of walk through who specifically. So are we helping moms? We helping dads? We're helping teenagers? We're helping young adults? We're helping, grandparents? All of those little decisions matter. And so I'm going to actually just choose the first one, passionate creator. And so I'll go ahead and drop that in there. So passionate creator, but wanting automation. I don't think creators want automation. Um, Passionate creator, I think, is a good enough term. So I'm going to come back over to GPT here. So what's the big result that they're after? Oh, they did. I'm reading this. You didn't do all the steps. You ignored me, GPT. Thank you. So sell digital products on autopilot. That's probably the biggest one. Sure, they want all this. All of us business owners want this, all of this other stuff. But in terms of like, when I'm thinking about helping a passionate creator create a funnel, what is the most relevant result to that endeavor, right? So turn passion into reliable income. Yes, but that's pretty pie in the sky. That's not really all that concrete. Sell digital products on autopilot. I think that's the best. Simplify sales without complicated tech. I like saying without complicated tech, but let's be real. The the perception of what is complicated is so different for everybody. You can say, "Oh, this is really simple," and then most people go, "What are you talking about? Where do I click this? Where do I click that?" I know because I get high level questions, and I'm like, it's some every software and every entrepreneurial skill takes at least a few weeks to get the hang of. Um, so we're gonna go, and so the point is sometimes when you look at these results or you look at a roadblock, you go, okay, well, is that concrete or is that going to be based on someone's opinion or previous experience? And so complicated tech is going to be based on someone's previous experience. That's where I was going with that previous example. So some people will look at high level and go, oh, yeah, this is fine. I've used 3 other softwares before this. Other people will look at it and go, I was using PowerPoint and Google Docs last week. What on earth is this, right? So it's I think this is just too subjective, even though we can overcome the tech problem. So I'm going to say sell digital products on autopilot. So that's going to be our big result here. And so then what we want to do is we also want a roadblock. So what is getting in the way of them achieving that result? Run. I'm going to say run. By the way, these codes are just here so that you don't see me typing. Give me. Okay. All right, here we go. So now it's giving us some roadblocks. So what's getting in the way of our passionate creator creating their so yeah, I don't even remember what we said. Selling digital products on autopilot, right? So what's getting in the way of passionate creators selling digital products on autopilot? So there's kind of like the big thing that we're going to help people achieve. So tech overwhelm, lack of clear funnel strategy, content creation bottleneck, fear of selling pushy sales mindset. That is actually true. I talk to a lot of creators, and that's especially in coaching. Like it's okay to say this. We're not making stuff up. And then limited traffic, audience building, lack of a reliable, consistent traffic sources. Okay, so again, we want to make sure that we're very focused on our specific niche. And by the way, you know that as my channel, I talk about a lot of other things, but we want to start in one focused place, and then we can always come back later and kind of broaden this. But for now, I'm not going to say tech overwhelm. I already did the spiel on that. Lack of clear funnel strategy, probably. Creation bottleneck, yes, that does matter to passionate creators who want to automate their sales through digital products, but that's not, if we're talking about automate sales through digital products and that's like the core, content creation is like over here. So it's in the sphere of influence. It's in the sphere of what they're dealing with, but it's not specific to what we are helping them with, that specific problem, that specific result. And so, with that in mind, I think lack of a clear funnel strategy is actually going to be the um, the roadblock that we address. And so, I'm going to go ahead and drop that in here. So, lack of a clear strategy, drop that in there. Oh. There we go. So that's what's getting in. So they want to sell digital products, a lack of a clear strategy, and we are helping a passionate. You tell them a little OCD with my colors here, but that's you don't have to do that. Okay, passionate creator, and the transformational result thereafter. Sell digital products on autopilot. What is getting in their way? A lack of a clear funnel strategy, and so now that we have these two, I actually need to ask GPT to give me a quick explanation there. So I'm going to jump back over here and say sell digital products on autopilot. And of course, they do want to get to six figures, but the specific result we want to give them is sell digital products on autopilot so they can build a six-figure business, right? So the six-figure business comes after selling on autopilot. So let's talk about selling on autopilot because that will allow them to get the six figures that they want, right? Because if we just say get six figures, the creators are going to be like, okay, that's cool, but like how? Um, so that's where sometimes your messaging might be off, is because you talk about this huge result when your customers, your audience, are still thinking about the step that they need to achieve to get that big result. So please do a quick explanation. So this should give us a quick sentence. Wow, no. Sorry, no. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we got so we have our little explanation here. And then for demographics, this is kind of like bonus round, but demographics, name, location, marital status, age, job, income, those are all things that will matter when you start running paid traffic. But let's say run let's say, for instance, we can just ask GPT to come up with some basic demographics. So it's going to be Alex, 28 to 45, single or married. Marital status doesn't really matter in this regard. Obviously, some products and niches that does matter. And then education, probably college educated. Occupation, probably still has an office job. So probably these are the occupations that most creators want. Income 30 to 100K. That's like okay, let's 90% of the population. Cool, or maybe 80. And then tech, um, other comfortable tech, right? So I would go ahead for our customer profile, and you see why this matters in a moment. So I'm going to come over here, say Alex. They're in the United States, UK, UK. Hello, UK, CA, and NZAU. There we go. Major English speaking countries there. Marital status does not matter. So I'm just going to put a NA there. Not important. Education, probably college of some kind. Not really important there. And then office, job. And we're going to say 40K to 150K or 100. I don't know why I said 150 and then I wrote 125. But this isn't really going to matter unless you're doing paid traffic. We always make our templates for all types of businesses. So as you scale, it's going to matter. So 28 to 45. And so for me in particular, I know personally just on YouTube, most of the content around entrepreneurship, funnel building, digital products that targets people in their early 20s is going to be all that messaging that I can't compete with. So there's just no point in me trying to tell a 20-year-old, yeah, just spend the next 5 years really working on your content, your channel, and you're going to grow. When the 22-year-old sitting next to a Lamborghini or Ferrari is like, hey, you're going to get this in 6 months, right? It just can't compete with that, right? Um, and that's okay. So, for the last step of your customer avatar creation, you're going to want to actually create an image of your customer. And I probably should have done this while I was talking because it's going to take a while. But now I'm going to say, please create, please write three. Okay. So when it comes to asking AI to create images for you, I like to start by telling it to write a detailed image prompt. So then it does all the work of figuring out who so it does all the work of figuring out, excuse me, one more time. It does all the work of figuring out the details of how to create a really good image. And then I can go ahead and read through these. And I'll just go with, normally problem number one's the best. So I'm just going to go with this. And then I'm going to say, please create image. Right. And so while it's generating this, I'll hop over to our tool and do a little shameless plug. We're going to skip the solution. We don't really need that for the purposes of our 30-day challenge. But if you do decide to join, you'll see here we actually have two more advanced things that we'll do later on. And you'll see this on the live streams as well over on YouTube and here on YouTube. And the next step is actually going through and actually creating something called a customer journey. This is a really awesome strategy where you actually start mapping out how does someone go from maybe I want to run, maybe I want to fix my relationship, maybe I want to build a funnel, all the way down to I'm signing up for a course, I'm actually buying a product or service. And so this particular process that we're going to do in week 3 is really going to help you with your content creation, coming up with even more product ideas. Because one of the worst things you can do with content marketing is to create a bunch of content that targets someone when they're roadblocked, when your audience is in the frustration phase, or vice versa. And a great way to explain this really relatively quickly is, you click on a video and it's talking about a bunch of basic stuff, and you're like, who on earth watches this? This is all basic information. I know this. Well, that's because the video is designed for someone who's at roadblocked or exploring. And in that particular niche or skill set, you're probably at frustrated or deciding. And of course, vice versa. I know I fall into this camp a lot. I make a lot of videos around frustrated when the majority of my audience is at roadblocked or exploring. That doesn't make people dumb or inept. That just means I'm creating content for problems or questions that they don't have yet because they're still at this stage. And by the way, everyone goes through these different stages as they progress in whatever it is that they're trying to achieve, whether it's health, relationship, investing, or building a business. And so we'll go through that later. And then, of course, psychographics, results, and roadblocks. And what's really cool and why this is so important, creating results and roadblocks, is when it comes time to create your sales messaging, you literally just drop in the result and the roadblock into the sales copy formulas that we have. And so if I just do an example here real quick, sell digital products on autopilot, lack of clear funnel strategy. So all I can say here is the best way to sell digital products on autopilot, even I would change this to even if you don't know your funnel strategy or without complicated tech in the next, 30 days, something like that. Obviously, would do a lot better with GPT, but I just want to show you how once you have a list of results and roadblocks, sales copywriting becomes plug and play. Creating content becomes plug and play because you just look at it and you go, I'll make a piece of content to help them with this result. I'll make a piece of content, help them overcome this roadblock. And it just simplifies so much of the process. But I know that this can take quite a while. So let's jump over to GPT. Hopefully it's done. Okay, this is our super our super generic photo. I would probably keep going. So I would hello. Uh-oh, there we go. So then I would go ahead and say create number two. So say create this one, please. Oops. What? But for now, I'll just go ahead and copy this image. I'll paste it into my sheet here, and I'll go ahead and crop it. There we go. Crop, because it's quite big, and that's okay. There we go. Something like that. And then when it comes time to create content, when it comes time to, write sales letters or write emails, not only do I have a, obviously I messed all that, messed all that up. So I'm gonna, and I'll fix that off camera. Oh yeah, I'll fix that off camera. And so when it comes time to do all of the writing and creation, now I have an actual image person in my head that I'm talking to. And I've seen marketers who are way more successful than me. They will actually have a real picture of a actual customer that they worked with or that their client worked with, and they'll actually have that in front of them while they're writing. And even if you're using GPT to generate all of your content, you do want to go through at least this basic process. So that way, whenever you're creating something, you can go to GPT or Claude, Grok, Llama or Lambda, I don't know, whatever Meta calls theirs. And you can say, hey, I'm creating a post for passionate creators who want to sell digital products on autopilot, but lack a clear funnel strategy. And they're 28 to 45. They're probably still in an office job. They live in these countries. Our avatar's name is Alex. And so, not only does that give GPT context to actually go create something that matters, it also allows you to stay focused on the human aspect of this, which is really hard to do when you're just like me sitting here. There's nobody else in the room, right? I'm just talking to a camera. It looks like most people have pieced out by now from looking at my concurrent viewers. And I know there's someone else on the other end of the camera. I know that there's someone else who's going to be reading this reading this post. But sometimes it's really easy to forget that when you're doing the writing, when you're doing the recording. And so having an actual picture of an actual person, whether it's an actual client, I know that sounds creepy, but by the way, if you were a client of mine, I never share those never share those pictures. I always use public ones from social. But I will picture that person in my mind, and then I'll write the post to that person. I'll write the email to that person. And again, even if you're using GPT for AI to generate all of this stuff, remembering that person and having them in your head is going to help your brain write in a way that's relatable to another human. Because what happens when you don't do this is your posts and your content just comes across flat, generic, and completely unrelatable, because you wind up yelling at someone through your post as opposed to speaking to someone through your post. I realize there's a lot of nuance there, but that's really why going through this process is so important. So hopefully it was helpful, kind of going through, let's just list out all the different things you could focus on, and then kind of what you care about in whatever niche that you choose, coming up with companies and influencers that you could learn from or draw inspiration from. Most of the time for brand inspiration, this is just to help point AI in the right direction. And then simply saying, hey, come up with, figure out how our customers might identify themselves, a big transformational result they care about, a big roadblock that's getting in the way of the results, and then, of course, some basic demographic information to help you craft the image of who you are actually speaking to. And so, speaking of images, let's see if we got another one. So, we pretty much got the same person. Um, for some reason, this one feels a little more real. I think it's probably the facial expression versus this one. But I'll go ahead and create this one as well. And so that actually does it for today. I know we went quite long. If this was a normal video, I definitely would have cut down this. I would have redone this whole first brand seed section. That was a little rough. But once you have this, actually inside of the 30-day challenge, you would actually also go to your on day 2 here, you'd actually go and create some product ideas. But we'll go ahead and do that tomorrow via the live stream, since explaining always takes longer than actually doing. But hopefully you have a lot more confidence in terms of creating your customer avatar, seeing how results and roadblocks can actually start to be used to plug and play with a lot of other elements inside of you building your business, whether it's content or funnels or even product creation, like you'll see in the next video. And if there's just one thing I could kind of, oops, I could actually sharing now. So if there's one thing I could kind of share as we wrap up here, it doesn't look like we have any other questions today, is that your customer avatar is an ever-changing process. It might seem like a waste of time because everything else that we do as entrepreneurs and content creators probably is more fun. But at the end of the day, you have to remember that everything that we do is in service to our audience, is in service to other people. And so without that mindset that we are, we will eventually be highly paid servants, right? But for the most part, when you're creating content, you're making your posts, your emails, you're building your products and launching your funnels, you're at the end of the day, you're a servant. You are trying to help a person. And so the better we understand who we are helping, the better our content's going to be and the more service we can be to other people. And ultimately that will come back to you in terms of course, audience brand growth and eventually revenue, because people in your audience are going to recognize that you serve them better than everybody else because you're actually paying attention, you're actually listening, you're actually taking the time to figure out what is it they're trying to achieve, what is it that's actually getting in their way. And of course, this profile will change over time as you get comments, as you get feedback, as you get customers. You can take those interactions, literally take those interactions and say, hey, here are a bunch of comments I got on YouTube, here are a bunch of emails I received from a client. How would I change my customer profile? And eventually, your ideal client and your customer profile are going to look like this. They're going to be one in the same, and that is a really awesome place to be. It took me about 3 years to get to that point, and I can actually think of a client that I had last year that was 95% representative of my customer profile. Like when we went through the process of his business and his content and his strategy and what he wanted to achieve, I was like, I just wrote my customer avatar. So obviously something's working, but it does take time to get there. So I know this might seem again, this is kind of one of those nebulous things where you're like, really, we spent an hour figuring this out, but it's huge because it points you in the direction that you're going. If you're going in the wrong direction, that's a lot of wasted time and effort, and that's what we're trying to avoid here. So thank you so much for tuning in live, and then also, of course, joining the checking the replay. I'm looking here. I do not see any questions coming in. I do see people. There are a couple people watching. So even if you didn't comment or ask questions, thank you so much for being here. It does mean a lot to know that I'm not talking into a void. Again, a link in the description and pinned comment to try GoHighLevel for 30 days. They are sponsoring this entire stream. It would not be possible without them. So thank you again so much to HighLevel for sponsoring that. And of course, You can always skip back if you don't want to check out the free trial. We will be showing you light versions of all of the prompts because obviously it's a GPT, but you'll be able to screenshot those prompts and go through this process with me anyway. So if you do have any questions, you can go ahead and use the comment section. My voice is dead now. I've got to prepare for tomorrow's stream. So until then, keep building the business you love.